Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to welcome you to the 2012 GSA Annual Meeting. It is energizing to see such a large group, which is an expression of your interest in GSA and the work that GSA is doing. You will see today through the materials that will be presented and discussed, through the presentations, through the keynote, that GSA is healthy, that we've done a lot of work, but it's also more to do and more is expected from us. In the past year, system and games were installed and upgraded, powered by the GSA protocols. And more will come. To see one's work supporting business in a field is the ultimate goal and measure of success for GSA. Our industry has needs, and that means opportunities for GSA to help. Standards are the pillar of innovation, and GSA is committed to do its share. We will work hard to choose our future wisely in the best interest of our present and future members. I am proud to work with a board of excellent professionals which put their diversity in helping the industry, and our diversity is an asset. We will work as a team to do the best for industry and GSA. But I'll have to say to this group that nothing would be possible without the passionate and competent work that the GSA staff that Peter is leading is doing. And also equally, we owe gratitude to the volunteer members from members' company that make these protocols possible. With that said, I'll let the proceedings go and Peter to take over. And thanks for coming, and we welcome your input in any way you can.
Thank you, Adrian. My God, it seems like yesterday. A year ago, we were talking about GSA, right? And there is some great news to be announced at this session. So let's first of all, if I can drive this. Oops. First of all, a great thank you for all the Platinum members. As I've shared every year, these Platinum members create about less than 50%, slightly less than 50% of our revenue. Most of them have been founding members and have been with the organization for a very long time. And a very special thank you. To all the other members, the same thank you. Because without you, GSA simply would not be able to operate and create the innovation and bring the innovation to the market. For those who are new to GSA, we are a trade organization. I don't think I have to tell you that. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the fact that you knew about GSA. Let's talk about our board of directors. As you just heard from our chairman, Adrian Marcoux from ITT, he was elected at the beginning of this year, and we had a very interesting year. We will share some of the tremendous work that has been achieved by the board of directors and all the volunteers in our membership. Walt Eisler from Bally Technologies is here. He's our vice chair. Rick Giuli, Manitoba Lotteries. Mark Pace, WMS Gaming, is our treasurer. Unfortunately, the treasurer escaped, not because the budget is not good or the numbers I'm going to talk about. He was supposed to talk about that. So I think I have to do this now. Jimmy Wilkins, Isle of Capri. Jeff Whiten, Alberta. Jim Morrow, Spilo. Keith Woods from Aristocrat. Klaus Peltz, Ontario. Melissa Price, Caesars. Steve Sutherland from Konami, and Syed from Oregon. Now, if you look at this picture, you see roughly about 50-50 vendors and operators. This is the first year that we had a significant increase in operators participating at the board level, the highest level. Now, this is very significant because the operators collaborate in the Operators Advisory Committee, and they start realizing the tremendous power that open standards bring to the industry. And our keynote speaker today is going to articulate some of these tremendous opportunities that the industry is faced with and the growth potential. Since Mark is not here, I will have to do the financials. We have the budget versus the audited. Look at the 2012 budget and the audited numbers. Those are the numbers at the end of last year. As you can see, we have an improvement in revenue. We're able to attract more members, and I will list them all on the next couple of slides, so you'll see who joined us. About 13% increase. At the same time, our net or equity cash has increased 200%. So basically, last year was a very rough year. For those who remember, we had to cut down GSA. As the board, we made some very hard decisions to make sure that GSA operates more efficiently. And I think it's clear that we have achieved this result. Now, if you look at the projected versus actuals versus budget, which are these numbers, you see that the variance is actually pretty small. We have an increase of 2%, and we even have an increase on net equity, which is, I think, very good. So, in other words, we're managing our budget in accordance to what the board has asked us to do. Let's talk about what have we done this year. First of all, and most important to the industry, we've stabilized our standards. Yes, we had a couple of years, changes and all that kind of stuff, and people still come up as like, GSA standards really stable? Yes, they are. And you will hear that more and more today. Next thing is very important. We have commissioned a study with a consultant that joined GSA in about March, April. The name is Random Consulting from Malta. Mr. Mario Gallia, I think, is in the room here. He created a report for GSA because GSA wanted to address the issue of what is our role, if any, in the online gaming space. In order for the board to make an appropriate decision, we need to have information. That report was completed this Sunday. It was distributed to the board, and we will make this available to the membership only. So those are members who can have access to that. That's a 46-page report that's very, very informative about the challenges that exist in the online gaming industry and how GSA can play a role. Now, the board will make the decision as to whether GSA will play a role and to what extent, but it's a very informative report. We held a seminar on industry collaboration. There is a lot of challenges with respect to the regulatory environment. If you have the regulatory environment today is very fragmented. In an online gaming environment, you have to try and harmonize regulations. Should GSA even do something in that space or not? And the reason why this thing was brought up is because we were approached by regulators frequently as to we need help. Online is so totally different from land-based gaming on a technology perspective. It's exponentially far more complex. So what is GSA's role going to be? These regulators really want to understand online gaming. And as an industry, we possess knowledge, whether it's our group or other groups. And they're trying to find a way to get the knowledge so they can craft regulations to protect the consumer. And again, GSA will discuss this during the strategic meeting. Very important. We realized that in order to address these complex issues such as online gaming, regulations, harmonization potentially, etc., we need help. We need help to drive a strategic planning process far beyond what we have done today. Because the world around us has become a lot more complex, the opportunities are significant, but we want to make sure we position the organization after 14 years correct, so looking forward in the next 3 to 5 years, we have a strategic plan. And to do that, we have retained the services of a very highly respected consulting company in the world. They've asked their name not to be mentioned. So this company is working with us on a strategic plan. The first day starts this Friday with the board. And it will be followed up by a 2-day session in November 7th and November 8th. So we hope to announce to the industry strategic direction and the role this organization will play in the issues I've mentioned previously, roughly about the middle of November. Now, we have increased global adoption, and I've just found out this morning, 5 minutes ago, from Victor, who's going to be our keynote speaker, that these numbers are slightly underestimated, which I think is very positive. But for all of those people in the room, what it should tell you is that the train has left the station. When the Canadians joined 4 or 5 years ago, they were looking for a way to drive innovation in their provinces, the whole Canada. And I should not forget Oregon. And as a result, they joined. And it's taken 4 or 5 years of effort and collaboration. But today, you can see 23,670 machines. And those are the numbers I was able to collect a couple of days ago from 2 provinces and Oregon. And I think Victor is going to put some numbers on the screen, which is going to be interesting. The next thing important is the Casino of Austria, the government of Austria has mandated the use of G2S standards, GSA standards, for the central monitoring for the country of Austria. And the contract for the central monitoring system was awarded to Comtrade, a Slovenian company. I just talked to Comtrade this morning. They're also very active in Hungary. On Monday morning during a roundtable, I found out that finally the Australians, which is a tough market, are now considering GSA's open standard. So this is an incredible year. Last year we were only dreaming about it, a lot of hard sweat and equity by all the people in the room. Today you will see that this is a reality. And what that's going to do for an operator is going to drive innovation. Remember the light at the end of the tunnel? And I've been doing this now for 13 years out of the 14 years. And that light is so bright in my eyes right now for every operator. Innovation is here. Our motto this year is, what's the price of your freedom? There's a case study for the Canadian. There's one Canadian operator who created an application for his property that was developed using GSA standards G2S. You can pick up the flyer at our booth. So it is happening, it's all coming. So for the operators in the room, I think it'll be very exciting. For the vendors in the room, it's equally exciting because all the hard work that has been done, all the heavy lifting from a technology perspective, and this is not an easy task, has been done. Now they can start innovating. You don't innovate on exchanging information. You innovate on the features you offer on your products. So it is going to be a very exciting time, 2013, moving ahead. Let's look at GSA Asia. I always give you an update on that. We have a small company, GSA Asia, that's simply a way to transact business in Macau. And as you know, GSA has been involved has a long-term vision towards the adoption of standards in Asia, which is a very important growing market. And for those who do not know, this initiative started 4 years ago with a lot of passion from the Macau Polytech Institute. And they have created a curriculum, a baccalaureate degree in science and computing with the option of gaming technology. Now, technology you can learn everywhere in the world, but gaming, arguably, are the crown jewels of this industry. We were able to, without giving away the secret sauce, convey the knowledge of this industry to the Macau Polytech Institute, and they, as a result of that, were able to create a curriculum. 2013, 23 students will graduate with that degree. 23 students. And that's only the tip of the iceberg, as you can very well imagine. So you're going to see a lot of innovation in that part of the world. From an organizational perspective, I just want to mention just a few points. We have overhauled all our policies this year. There's a nice policy handbook, so you can take that away. Anybody who finds a problem as a member, even as a non-member, you have to tell us. I mean, the whole idea of these policies is to guide the organization. If you identify issues, specifically the people who work in the committee, that could be improved, bring it to me. Bring it to GSA team members. We can discuss it, we review it with the board, and we continue to increase the quality of our policies. That's very important for the organization. The next thing, we redesigned our website. This was a process that took a little bit longer than expected, but we made it very simple. We are a small organization, we have limited resources. I think we try to do the best we can to provide you access very quickly to whatever it is you're looking for. And the last thing, we have made a new alliance with iGaming in the UK, as well as in America. It's our official publication with respect to everything that happens in online gaming. The most important thing, this board has spent an exhaustive amount of time for 6 months discussing probably one of the most important things for our industry, and that is certification. Once you've got these standards, you need to make sure that you consistently implement these standards. And this has to do with certification. Now, the board discussed how are we going to get there? And finally we concluded that we recognize the creation of a compliance validation or verification tool called CVT. That's the name we give this product. It's a piece of software that runs test scripts, a lot of them, by the way. If you've got a 3,000-page document, you can only imagine the amount of tests you have to run. That automatically tests the implementation. So if you look at a product development cycle, a software engineer sits at this platform and is trying to implement this big protocol called G2S. For him to do that effectively, you want to give him the tools that allows him to, on the spot, whilst he is coding it, to test the implementation. That's what this tool will do. And in addition, you can give it to the QA department. Now, why is that important, you ask, for an operator? Well, very simply, it will reduce the time to market. You'll get your products faster. Now, why is that? If you don't have tools, what the R&D guy does, he implements to the best of his capabilities. He throws us over the wall to a department called the QA department. These guys do nothing else than testing. They love testing. By the time they find all the problems, they go back to the R&D guy. But the R&D guy already moved on, right? So you can see that there is no efficiency built into this process. By having that tool in the product development cycle, you're going to increase efficiencies. And as a result of that, you're going to get products to the market faster. We will use this tool to issue GSA certifications the moment this tool is finished. Now, it's going to take a while. First of all, the development plan, first of all, the company that was identified is Radical Blue Gaming because of their experience that they have currently with tools. There's agreements that have been done. There was a discussion, but we finally concluded that a few weeks ago that Radical Blue is going to be the company developing the tool for GSA. The next thing is the development plan was approved by the CIC committee. The rules were that the chairs, vice chair, and the protocol director of GSA have to agree on the development plan. That was done last week or 2 weeks ago as well. The CIC committee also created a functional specification for this tool. I mean, for those who are part of it, they can go online and pull down the functional specification. It describes you what this tool should do, what it does and doesn't do. And the next thing is we finally agreed on the terms and conditions. This is a bit of a complex animal because GSA is not in the software business. We don't sell that tool. We have a company, and as a customer, whoever purchases the tool is a customer. They can go to Radical Blue, sign an agreement, a licensing agreement, and then GSA gives Radical Blue the intellectual property rights to use the GSA technology, and then we manage the funding for the creation of the tool. How does that work? In order for this tool to start, the funding, we need 6 core site licenses. And as you see on the proposal there is an incentive for those people who purchase early. There is about $15,000 incentive. So you pay $60,000, you're a supporting customer. That money goes into an escrow account. The escrow account is managed by the board of directors and depends on the performance of Radical Blue. If Radical Blue meets its objectives, at certain milestones, money will be transferred. As simple as that, under the software licensing terms. Now, we have so far collected 5. We needed 6. We were hoping to make a good announcement, but it's a good start because we only talked to our board, and there's only 5 vendors on our board, right? So all 5 signed up for them. WMS, Aristocrat, IGT, Spilo, and who else? Valley, thank you. Sorry, Walt. So, for those people in the audience, if you want to support this tool, whether you're a member or not, let us know. You can benefit from that advanced purchase of $60,000 for a site license. The other members, for customers, we call them, because essentially they're not our customers, they're Radical Blue's customers. They can purchase this tool at $75,000 when it's completed. And it depends. If you're a platinum, gold, or silver, you can purchase that. However, if you're a bronze member, that means a member who does not participate in the committees, that means a member who only purchases the document, or a non-member, the fee will be $90,000. So you can consider maybe becoming a member to offset that difference for a year, right, to benefit them. So the annual license, the annual maintenance fee for this is $15,000. Now that's an important component of this because these test scripts will continue to improve. This is an iterative process that goes on between GSA, the adopters, the users of the tool, as well as the ITLs, the independent testing labs, like GLI, BMM, etc. That circle needs to be there because that is what eventually will increase the quality of the tool and, by the way, also of our standards, as you know. And we're very proud to say that we have a first certification, Spilo. GSA issued its very first certification after 14 years to company Spilo, but this was not achieved singly by Spilo. There's a lot of companies that Spilo interacted with very closely to make this thing happen. So this is very great news, and that's on G2S version 1.1. And GLI was the laboratory that's been testing for quite a long time because they've been involved with GSA for a long time, and they were very excited. I think all of us were very excited to issue that certification. Let's look at the CVT, the tool itself. It's broken down into 2 pieces. You have the core classes. For those engineers, they know what that means. The core classes will be completed in 9 months, of course including transport, otherwise you can't communicate. The CIC will be intimately involved. All the supporting members, supporting customers who pay have the ability to get intimately involved and test this tool. And that feedback goes back to Radical Blue, and they will continue to improve that product. 15 months later, we have the complete toolkit. So as you can see, this is about a little bit over 2 years project. But this will create a significant value for the industry because it will help significantly with the interoperability challenges that we are faced with. So that's on that side. Now, let's look at the members. Quite impressive. Yes, we lost some members. I did put them on there, not many. But as you can see, there's some members have upgraded. Alberta became platinum. They're on our board. Ontario, they're on our board. To gold, you've got Atlantic, Oregon, Lottery, Multimedia, and WCLC. But look at all the new members we have. It's good. So there is finally an appetite for these standards and people recognize them. Now, why is that? I think the driving force has been the Canadian market. Besides the Austrians, the Austrian government, and GSA has been going back, Ethan Tower has been flying back to Austria, has been flying to various places, including Greece and Peru, Lima, etc., trying to get these standards into the market. And I think the success, it shows that we're finally successful in getting the traction that we need. Now, we've been traveling this year, the few of us, Ethan and myself, we've been in Europe. Dr. European Union, thanks to Mario, was introduced to one of the 27 European commissioners. And that is very close to their heart, has to do with standards for the online gaming market. For those who follow it closely, they know some of the challenges, and you can talk to Mario after this meeting and get more details. And it's also articulated clearly in the report, which was produced by the RGA, which is the Remote Gaming Association. We've been to Malta, at least I've been to Malta, because in order to get into online gaming, for me to get a little bit of an understanding of that, I needed to sit down with one of the guys who is an expert in the field, and that was definitely Mario. And I've talked to some vendors in Malta, and I've seen the data center. It's very impressive. We've been to Greece, talked to the government. Unfortunately, no decision has yet been made. I was waiting for a report, but I haven't got that yet. South Africa, Ethan came back last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago. There is a very strong desire for the LPM market. They call it the low payout market, right? You can get more details from Ethan. Obviously, we've been to Canada speaking. The Canadians have invited us to address. We're going to Peru next week, or in 2 weeks from now, addressing all the South American operators. And then the Philippines. We also talked to the chairman of the Philippines there and trying to get traction. There's a new company that's been formed, forgot the name of it, and they're doing a network of gaming terminals across the Philippines. So we're trying to get them to start embracing GSA standards. Now I'd like to hand it over to Brian. Is Brian in the room? Brian.
Good morning, everybody. For those of you that know Carrie, I'm sure you're pretty disappointed. You were expecting somebody more handsome. But I will attempt in my vice chair capacity to update you on the OAC achievements and our path going forward. So OAC achieved quite a bit over the last 12 months. One of the most significant enhancements that the OAC has achieved is the increased participation of the technical committees and the face-to-face meetings. It's provided the OAC direct feedback on the current status of all of the activities within each of the committees and allowed the OAC and the operators to provide immediate feedback to them, and it's been an excellent dialogue, I would say, in each of those face-to-face meetings. And obviously, that's something that we're looking at trying to increase over time. Some additional items that we've accomplished in our face-to-face meetings have been a number of valuable presentations based on real-life experience. So, as some of you may know, the AGLC has been going through a major initiative as an integrator to get GSA G2S protocols in all of their VLTs, and this was an avenue for me to complain about it. We've done, the very first presentation was just about 9 months into the project. We had an opportunity to present our status on the implementation and presented the strengths and weaknesses that we found within the protocol. And then later on, you'll see that we did a public key infrastructure lessons learned, which was an area of specific focus that we dove into additional detail at a subsequent meeting, which was very positive. In line with the online thrusts of the GSA, we had Cameron Adams come in from the BCLC to give a presentation about connecting land-based casinos to their online presence, because they are an operator that manages both of those lines of businesses. And then we had a good presentation from Zach Hollis from GLI, speaking about their experience as a testing lab in implementing and testing the G2S protocols as well. And then we had a player user interface presentation as well that discussed the overall assessment and experience with the player user interface in the over the last 12 months as well. So looking at the coming year with the OAC, one of the things that we're working very hard on is to broaden participation from additional operators within the GSA. It's a great opportunity to influence the protocol and leverage your membership. We're also looking at an operator survey to help guide the OAC in determining what our priorities should be with the rest of the operators. Continued feedback and lessons learned from organizations that are implementing the protocols. There are, as Peter mentioned, the train has left the station, and there are lots of opportunities to collaborate at the OAC level to discuss experiences. The player user interface remains a bit of a challenge, and we're looking at driving out some additional business requirements in that area so that we can bring it to a less technical level. Determining methods to assist operators with implementing the status or the standards is, there's so much work that's gone on in the last several years with implementing the G2S protocols, and that work and knowledge needs to be shared through some vehicle. And public key infrastructure is a good example of lessons learned that other organizations can capitalize on and drive adoption. And then the integration of internet with traditional operations, we want to spend a lot of time looking at impact on that, on the GSA standards and what that means. So that's all.
So I'd like to introduce Ethan Tower, our protocol director and the guru behind the standards, and is trying to keep the committees all together. Ethan?
Thank you, Peter. I'm going to try to be brief and just kind of bring you up to date with what we've been doing within the technical committees. As Peter mentioned early on, one of our main objectives for 2012 was stabilization of the standards. And what that really meant for the technical committees was pulling together all the clarifications and corrections that have been going on and we've been pushing out into the field, get those into final versions of the document. So there's a single document, a single point of reference that all the developers could go to. This chart just kind of runs down through all the standards and sort of what those milestones were and what those stakes in the sand are. Actually, last November, we first finished up the serial GATT protocol, which is used to do software authentication. That one, the GATT 4.0, came out in last November. In March, we got out S2S 1.6, which was, included some new functionality and once again helped try to clearly articulate how S2S is supposed to work. The GDS standards, after many years, we finally came out with the final versions of the GDS, which included some functional enhancements. Those came out in April, and at the same time in April, G2S 2.1 came out, which was I think we went from about 1,600 pages to 3,000 pages at that point. So there was a lot of new functionality in there, plus a lot of critical clarifications and corrections so that we could get everybody on the same page, heading in the same direction with their implementations. Finally, just in September, Transport finished up, and Transport version 1.2 came out. And so right now, those are all really the versions of the standards that we're trying to get everyone to focus on. I know there's currently a lot of focus also on G2S version 1.1, because that came out March 2011. And so a lot of people are working on that one. And so once they get the 1.1 done, 1.1 version's done, 2.1's the next point to go to. I put a little notes up next to them just to sort of help indicate how stable we've gotten the standards. If a new correction or clarification has to come out on the standards, we're currently issuing technical bulletins on those. And so you can see for a number of them, like GATT and S2S, we've issued 0 technical bulletins since those sort of final versions came out. GDS, we've put out 6, S2S 19. For committee members, those are very small numbers compared to the number of issues that we've addressed, over the years. So really the objective of stabilizing the standards, clearly articulating what the target is for the developers. I think we've gotten really close and really have helped. I think we've achieved that objective. In terms of what we're going to be doing in the next year or two with the technical committees, the serial gap protocol is really in maintenance mode. I think it's pretty much done at this point. S2S, there are a few more classes in S2S we want to get aligned with G2S. We're also looking at an effort to help improve the process of bringing software from the manufacturers to the download servers and getting it into the machine. So there's an effort going on right now to help standardize the manifests, the electronic manifests that are coming from the manufacturers to help smooth that process. Also, the S2S committee is looking at the opportunities to help support the internet gaming integration issues that are going on. GDS, the main objective right now for the GDS committee is to try to upgrade their developers toolkit. If there are any volunteers in the room, please raise your hand. But we're going to be trying to get a program underway to upgrade the developers toolkit for GDS from the 1.1 and 1.0 versions to the current 1.2 version. G2S, we do have issues that are coming up regarding certification, clarifications and corrections people are looking for. But our main focus actually in the last few months has been on additional manufacturer extensions, new functionality that people want to get out in the field to meet specific business needs. So really G2S now has gotten away from trying to adjust the protocol and is looking at new functionality. Transport, unfortunately, we use a lot of underlying technologies to do the transport. And people like the W3C and the IETF control those standards. And unfortunately, they change them over time. And so one of the things the Transport Committee is starting to do is to look at the newer versions of the underlying technologies that we use for transport, things like IPv6, TLS 1.2, lots of other acronyms, to look at their impact on what we're doing and how we do our transport. We also did a survey to find out from the membership how they felt about the transport, where they saw additional opportunities, because transports change or new ones come out on a regular basis. So the Transport Committee is also looking at the results of that and are going to be assessing what's the best thing for GSA to do going forward. All of those things are sort of long-term. It's nothing we're going to see in the next few months. It's probably a year or two out before we start having any changes in that area. And finally, the CIC committee, as Peter said, they're going to be very busy because they're going to be deeply involved in the development of the CVT, verifying that all the scripts are adequate, they're sufficient for testing the protocols, hopefully actually doing some hands-on testing to make sure the CVT works as purported. So they'll be very busy with that. And also, they've been trying to start an interoperability testing program to try to start getting some additional feedback to the committees. So with that, I'll hand things back to Peter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's next, a big pleasure to introduce Victor Duarte, who's a Senior Vice President at Spilo, who's going to talk about the impact that standards had on his company. And I'll switch out the computers.
Good afternoon, I think. It's almost the afternoon, which is an important barometer because that means G2E is nearly halfway done, and I can't wait to go home. Thank you. Yes, I know I have somebody that has similar thinking about this. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the GSA, customers, I see some of my customers around the room, and guests, I really want to thank you for allowing me to speak at this annual general meeting of GSA. It's a great privilege for me to share with you what Spilo has been doing over the last several years, actually. At least 5 years we've been working on a GSA and a G2S journey. This journey is one that I would characterize as having a very uncertain beginning. A lot of twists and turns along the way. In fact, we still twist or turn, depending on the week and the project. And what I believe is going to be a very successful ending of our journey, or more appropriately, a new beginning, because this is something that will continue to evolve, and we want to be at the forefront of that. My objective today is threefold. On the one hand, I'd like to provide you some information that I hope you find informative. It'll certainly be my best efforts to make it informative. I also want to acknowledge a number of organizations and in particular people that have made this G2S journey so successful for Spilo and for our customers. And I'd like to be brief enough so that those of you that are eyeing the exits can get out of here on time, let's say. And I mean that table over there, which is primarily my staff. As background, as I know it's been covered by Peter, Spilo International is a platinum member of the GSA. We have been for a number of years. We're involved at multiple levels in the organization. We are a voting member of the board of directors. That's Jim Morrow currently serves in that capacity. Prior to that, it was Don Doucette. We have active technical representation on the G2S, S2S, and transport technical committees. So I think it's fair to say Spilo International has embraced the principles of open standards, despite some initial concern, which is why that title behind me may appear a little bit scary. But I'll elaborate on why we would characterize this journey as beginning with a lot of doubt and ending in delivery. We believe that Spilo International is today the world's largest implementer of the G2S protocol. I will share later in this presentation why the statistics that form the basis for this statement. Very recently, and this was just fortunate timing for us, I'm very happy to state that our Intelligent Central System is the first ever product to receive G2S certification from the GSA. This certification was recently provided by GLI's Independent Testing Lab. My entire team, a number of them are in the room, are very proud of this achievement. One of them even hinted that she might walk around G2E with a certificate on a sandwich board sign. So far, we have held her back. I'm not sure if Thursday, when it gets a little dicey on the show floor, that we might not see her out there. So let us know, Rachel. Spilo International, our background really is in the lottery industry. Spilo International was originally part of GTEC. We are now affiliated with GTEC and report directly up to Lottomatica Group. But our heritage is the video lottery industry. That's an industry that I would characterize as fairly closed. Generally, we had closed networks. We had proprietary protocols. It was basically in our DNA when we started this journey several years ago. And we were a leader. We were the leading central system provider globally. And we were very proud of the fact that we had built a protocol in DXS that actually had a lot of the functionality that G2S was aiming to have, things like downloading that we had several years prior to it being enabled with G2S, and that we had tuned our protocol to really fit the operating environment of distributed or wide area VLT customers, things like managing operating hours, some of the security events, things like that. So we're very proud, as engineers tend to be, very proud of our DXS protocol. When GSA was first discussed, and at the time it was probably Bob, we were a little bit skeptical. We viewed it as a casino protocol. We didn't think necessarily it would fit the needs of our VLT customers, and certainly the operating environments that our distributed VLT customers tend to work in. But we changed our minds, thankfully. I would have hated to be in my late 30s and a dinosaur in the industry, but fortunately we did change our minds. And really three drivers forced us to change our minds. One was our customers. We have the most outstanding roster of customers globally. I know it's the envy of my competitors, but we have an outstanding customer base, and one thing that they tend to do a very good job of is to push us. And they were advocating very strongly the importance of open standards. The GSA, and in particular the Operator Advisory Committee, was indispensable in terms of getting us to the point that we understood the value and could see how we could actually be a big player in the evolution to G2S. G2S and to open standards. And really, we had a product roadmap, a vision for where we were going to take our next generation central system. We had a system called ES Video. We were transitioning to intelligent, and a lot of the facets, the value adds that were in our product roadmap, were going to be enabled by G2S, particularly when you consider that we needed to have those functionalities across multiple suppliers' machines. So our own roadmap was driving us towards this direction as well. From the customer perspective, however, it was clear. We need you guys to go there. If you want to be our system provider, we need you guys to go to open standards. We need to have the flexibility to acquire other people's content, other people's machines, even in small quantities where maybe the economics don't make sense to do a big DXS protocol conversion. So we need to have open standards, and we listened. The Operator Advisory Committee, again, advocated very strongly for open standards and actually explained to us a pragmatic and logical way that we could implement this and be successful as a business. I realize now that the welcome mat is probably being replaced by a train leaving the station, so I'll update this presentation before it's available to everybody online. From a system roadmap perspective, we did a lot of analysis. We work with our customers, we listen, we call it the voice of the customer, we go out and we analyze needs and trends in the market, and we were very active in looking at our solution and identifying ways that we would extend it beyond just merely accounting and security monitoring into value adds, things that enhance revenue, things that help you manage costs more effectively. At the time when we were kicking off this journey, there was a lot of buzz around server-based gaming, and it was really a buzz that was in the casino space. And people around the table at Spieler were thinking, well, really, that's something, network gaming is something we've been doing for years. It's not a nice to have. It's not something. This is my editor. It's not something, apologize for that. It's not something where the value proposition is unknown. The value proposition for network gaming in a distributed environment is very clear. It helps you operate in an environment, provide security remotely, manage your network efficiently, make best utilization of your field technicians, which have to get in trucks and drive around large territories. So we knew there was a value proposition that already existed in the distributed VLT environment that had yet to be proven in casino. So when we looked at our product roadmap, we identified a number of value adds that were going to be supported by G2S. Advanced business analytics across multiple suppliers of content and machines. Scheduled or spontaneous game switching and downloading was something that we felt was critical for our future success as a system provider. Predictive diagnostics, the ability to actually monitor the machine network and identify on a predictive rather than reactive basis when a machine has a risk of failing. That would allow us to proactively manage our operators, to proactively manage machine uptime, and to better utilize field technicians and those costs. Player interfaces. I know Brian talked about the PUI. That's something that we see as a tremendous opportunity to offer things like bonus content, marketing messages, direct-to-player messaging, responsible gaming programs, which is very significant in the VLT space. And support for wide area progressives. We have a wide area progressive operator in Italy that is the most successful and it's the largest wide area network that I'm aware of in the world, and we want to work to put that into the player user interface as well. So we saw the value from product roadmap standpoint. It was still difficult to make the decision to go from proprietary, the safe, comfortable proprietary world. But fortunately, I'm standing here because there's 3 people at the table over there that pushed. Robert Drummond, who's my vice president and general manager of public gaming, was the voice of the customer. He was telling me, we got to listen, this is important, and we did listen. Rachel Barber, who is the sandwich board, hopefully wearer in the next couple of days, she's our CTO. She has some very smart people, some of them at the table, that threw out ideas like, you got to use UDP as a transport layer because TCP, then I would have like an aneurysm every time they spoke. But it actually made a lot of sense ultimately to me, which is not important, but was pleasant to know that I could figure that out. And Cindy Hovey, our Senior Director of Product Management, really it's that the three legs of the stool, let's say, that they bring the needs of the market, the evolution of technology, the voice of the customer. They bring those together and actually advocate something. And they strongly advocated this was the right journey for us, and I'm very grateful that they did do that. So what does, for our customers, what is GSA certification? We're very proud of that. What does it mean? Well, I think in the end, the fact that we're the first means that there will be many more, which is a wonderful thing as well. We have worked very hard to make sure that the G2S protocol meets the needs of our distributed VLT base, because those were the first ones, I guess let's call them the trained, those were the first ones that were going to implement this in a large-scale environment. So we worked very hard, particularly back in, I think it was June of 2009, to develop extensions to the G2S to meet the operating conditions, the requirements of distributed customers, things like operating hours and managing that. I think our certification will demonstrate that if a machine manufacturer has also obtained the certification, our customers should feel confident that they can connect any machine manufacturer to our system. Seamlessly, perhaps a couple of issues here and there, but primarily seamlessly. And we feel that, with G2S, we did a lot of talking about it, but as we've been saying, and we said in our press release, we feel that we're walking the walk. System installation. So these are the results. This is why I feel that we are today the largest implementer of G2S. We started this journey back in 2009. We actually started in Racino environments, and we used SAS-based environments because that was the standard at the time. We started on the course of Intelligent, which is our next generation system, and by the end of next calendar year, we should have 19 systems delivered, intelligent systems delivered by the end of 2013. We started our deployments with G2S in Italy in 2010 and in Sweden. This is a modified G2S because it needs to have support for centrally determined wins. So the machines do not determine the outcome of the game. It's actually determined on the host. We started in Sweden and Italy. Today we have in excess of, I believe the number is about 20,000 machines in those two jurisdictions that actually use the Intelligent Central System and utilize G2S with the modifications required for the centrally determined outcomes. In terms of machines connected, by the end of next year, we're going to have 86,000 machines connected to our central system, our next-gen intelligent central system. There'll be multiple providers connected to those. In fact, I believe the current count is 5 major manufacturers that will be connecting to our central system, inclusive of Spilo, of course, so 4, let's say, third parties. Most of those machines, those 86,000 machines, actually will be G2S enabled. 15 of our 19 intelligent deployments since 2009 until the end of 2013, so about 80% will utilize G2S in either a machine determinant or centrally determined basis. With respect to Italy, for example, there's going to be 20,000 machines by the end of next year. Canada alone accounts for 30,000 machines in a machine determinant G2S environment. Our customers. We wouldn't exist without our customers. They do, as I say, push us to do things that maybe we don't even understand are good for us. So I certainly appreciate what they have done as far as our vision and as far as their vision, and making sure that ours evolve to their vision and that we've implemented this successfully. It's not an easy journey to replace a system, implement new standards and protocols, and integrate with third parties, and to do it on a project timeline. So it does require a lot of patience, a lot of collaboration with our customers, and they've been outstanding on this journey. We also have had support at the Operator Advisory Committee in terms of the extensions we needed, like the operating hours extension. That was something that the OWAC helped us in terms of getting released as an approved extension into G2S. So working with the OWAC, working with our customers, and obviously internally and with our competitors, the machine manufacturers, I think that allowed us to get to the point where we are today. The interesting thing as well with G2S and our intelligence system is that we have a core, which is common to all of our customers, accounting, security, things like that. But we allow value-added modules to be selectively purchased by our customers. Alberta, who is in the room actually, has purchased our player experience solution, which is based on the PUI. We're going to work very closely with them to implement, some what we hope is exciting content on the PUI in the next couple of years. And obviously that required some extensions to G2S to support. Last week we announced our contract award on the machine and system side with Manitoba. Manitoba has an intention to offer the wide area jackpot in the player window as well. So I think our customers are really selectively picking some exciting components of our system and things that actually leverage G2S, which is very exciting for all of us. So what's next? We believe we're at the beginning. So the train left the station. This train's going to continue on a long journey. We're going to be on that journey. Today, our G2S, our use of G2S does not utilize all of the classes of the protocol. So we're going to continue to look at those classes and identify functionality that's required by players, by operators to actually leverage the protocol much better. As far as our commitment, we are committed to the GSA. We are committed in terms of finances. We're committed in terms of some of the best resources in the industry that we're fortunate to have working for Spielo International. We also have an affiliate company that is it's merging in with Spielo International, which is the iGaming division of Lottomatica Group, a company called GTech G2. So we're obviously looking at what standards could do in the iGaming space as we move forward and we merge the two businesses and technologies. From a land-based perspective, our commitment is to continue to work very hard on the technical committees, very hard at the board level to make sure that GSA is a thriving organization and that the technologies are really supporting the needs of our customers and the players. Questions? I will be in the Spielo booth later on today. I'd love to talk to any of you if there's any specific questions. I'll do my best to avoid answering technical ones, but I'll be happy to talk about the journey that we've had. It's been exciting. It's been very fortunate for us in terms of the people we work with, the customers that we're fortunate to have, and the progress we've made. I think we're very proud of where we are today and what the future holds. So thank you very much. I hope to see you very soon.
What a difference 1 year can make. There's a lot of companies that have been working on that for a long time, and to suddenly hear after 14 years, I was a little bit underestimated the numbers, suddenly 86,000 gaming devices, that's quite impressive. It's very impressive. So all those people who've been running in committees, all those people who've been participating, and I wish I could create a list because there's a lot of people that I've been involved with and people doing this, make this actually happen. I mean, you should pat yourself on the back. I mean, this is a phenomenal. So the train has left the station, and I think this industry is going to be very grateful to see the innovation as a result of the adoption standards that was created by every single member. Because you put your hardcore money in this organization, you put all your best talents in this organization, and as a result of that, we hear what we can move forward and look into a bright future. I'd like to give some recognition to some people who've been very instrumental, and everybody as part of GSA has been incredibly instrumental, but especially the chairs and the vice chairs who run the various committees. Kerry Wolf, he couldn't be here today, the Operators Advisory Committee, he's been instrumental. Brian McCinnick, we just talked to you and shared with you what the Operators Advisory Committee has done. The CIC Committee, the very important committee next year, Paul DeGrazia from WMS, who's the chair, and the vice chair is Dennis Clutton from IGT. So thank you very much for all the effort that you have done, and hopefully the effort you will be doing in these important committees. Kevin Higgins, Kevin, thank you very much, IGT. He's leading the S2S committee together with Chris Jarrell from VGT. Dan Milligan from VGT is doing the G2S committee. So Dan, thank you, and Ram Reddy from Bally. Abdul Ali, Aristocrat, is doing the game device standard, perfect inside the machine. And Ben Littner, from VGT, thank you, Ben. And last but not least, transport done by Dale Buckles from WMS and Gary Peterson from IGT. So you can see tremendous amount of effort, and it's because of the leadership of the chair and the vice chair running these committees, that we've successfully advanced, and it's very, very impressive. But last but not least, we have a very small team in GSA. I have 4 people that work with me together, and I think we have an incredible, strong partnership, a lot of passion. So I'd like to thank Ethan. I'd like to thank Michelle, because she's really been running GSA when I'm traveling, so she's done a phenomenal job. Also like to thank Lisa for all her support in the organization. And last but not least, the person who could not be here is Gina. Gina is our technical writer, and writing 3,000 pages of all these little details I can assure you. The woman did a phenomenal job. Besides that, she also does our website. Besides that, she also does certification together with Ethan. So very few people actually move mountains to make this thing happen. So thank you very, very much. And with that being said, is there any other questions you would like to ask our board members or myself? No? Time to go? Well, thank you very much, and I hope to see you guys next year. Thank you.